Hello, good day. Welcome to the 14-day practical AI challenge by Zafer Academy. I'm your host, Engineer Victory. Here, we're gonna see some practical lessons of how to use AI so you can stop guessing and start prompting. Today is day 4 of this incredible 14 days journey. We have gone through day 1, we have gone through day 2, we have gone through day 3. Day 3 was amazing, where we looked at a massive project and we had to do a two-part video. Part 1, part 2, we covered hallucinations, we covered layering, and so many other things. We also covered the persona, building the persona, and we're just going to continue with some of those lessons which we've gotten from the previous days. That's from day 1, day 2, day 3 until today, in addition with the things which we're going to learn today. So sit down, let's move on, get ready to learn something amazing today. All right, so today is day 4 and we are looking at building a healthy diet with AI. Now, it's true that this topic is kind of similar to what we covered on day 2, but that's not a problem because we're still going to see how to implement what we've learned so far, and we are going to look at this from a different angle. When we were looking at this topic on day 2, we were looking at building a meal plan, even though it was not so much diet focused, it was more about a meal plan for maybe throughout the week for a person, no matter who you are. It's true, we also talked about dieting and some aspects of it, but this time we're going to focus not just on the meal plan issue but on the dieting issue, so that if you're doing this you can be able to build a diet and then you can get that diet and turn it into a meal plan. All right, so what's our theme for today? Expressing reality in prompts. So today we're looking at taking your reality and then expressing it in prompts. That which is your particular situation, that which is the problem you're trying to express, that which is the solution you're trying to achieve. How can we translate that into a prompt so that AI can be able to understand it? It's just like you have a big challenge, you have a big situation, and you have a child, you have a toddler, and you want to explain it to that person, you want to explain it to that toddler in terms he can understand. There are certain things you would not be able to say because the toddler has not yet come to the point where he can understand some of those things. So you have to translate the information wisely so your toddler or the person who is younger or the child can understand, right? So something of that nature. So let's look at why most diets fail, right? One of the reasons why most diets fail is because many people treat dieting as a short-term project instead of a long-term behavior, right? If you're treating dieting as a short-term project, it's definitely going to fail because you're not going to be able to build the discipline. You're not going to be able to build, for example, let's say you're trying to, of course there are definitely short-term dieting goals. Maybe you're trying to recover from a particular incident like we saw in our last example for day 2. Maybe you're trying to transform your diet to focus on one particular nutrient so you can gain that to just get back to your health and all of that. That's good, right? But the ultimate goal should not just be dieting for that short period of time. It should be an overall change of lifestyle, right? An overall change of lifestyle. Things are much more better to achieve when we take them as a lifestyle change rather than as a short-term project. Because if you take it as a short-term project, you may find yourself coming back to the point where you were, where you decided to take up the project of doing that particular dieting to be able to eradicate the problem your previous unhealthy lifestyle had caused, right? So relying on motivation instead of structure. Many people rely on motivation instead of structure when it comes to dieting, when it comes to building a particular lifestyle habit or doing something new. Basically, motivation is great, don't get me wrong, but motivation can only get you so far, right? Motivation can only get you so far. What eventually gets you to achieve your goal is structures and systems. structures and systems. If you have a structure in place, you have a system in place that can help you to achieve that thing which you want to achieve ultimately, that structure is going to exist beyond motivation. So on the day you're motivated, you're still going to do what you want to do. The days you're not motivated, you're still going to do what you want to do, because there is that system you've established in place that is going to basically help you to do what you're supposed to do. So we are going to see how to take the dieting scheme we are going to build today and incorporate it into a system, so that you're not just going to be able to achieve your goal, but you're going to be able to achieve it in record time, when you're motivated, when you're not motivated, in spite of whatever is going on around you. So the next thing is following rigid rules that don't match real life conditions. Some people, they get excited when they have a new goal, and there is this euphoria of excitement that pushes them to do things which in a way are heavily unrealistic. Now, of course, there are some people amongst us who are high achievers, who do things crazily, who are looking for the best result, and as a result, they get maybe 2 hours of sleep. They are always on the go doing one thing or the other. That's true, that's good for them, but not everybody falls in that role, not everybody falls in that criteria, and as a result, those of us who do not fall in that criteria, we need to take things slowly. We need to be less rigid but firm, right? The goal is not to be too rigid. The goal is to be firm enough so that you can achieve your goal. The system should be firm enough so that you can achieve your goal, but relax enough where it kind of like accurately mirrors real life restriction, real life realities, and so on and so forth. Now, making drastic changes all at once, this is something which is really important. Imagine you're someone who used to eat maybe, let's say, 4 times in a day, and then you're trying to go on a dieting spree, and you're also trying to eat less, right? If you just wake up and say, I'm not going to eat 4 times a day, I'm going to start eating once a day, and I'm going to start eating only fruits and vegetables, that's a very, very drastic change, and it is highly unlikely that you're going to be able to achieve that, right? Of course, if you have the right system in place and you're disciplined enough and you're crazy enough, the good crazy, not the bad kind of crazy, you'll definitely be able to achieve this. But not everybody has that discipline or that mindset, or is as crazy enough to do, something like that. There may be the initial drive, maybe the initial motivation, but of course you need to start slow, right? You need to start slow. Babies, first of all, creep on all fours, then they kind of start walking, with the help of someone, or while they are leaning on a wall, or while they are leaning on an object, and then they walk, and then they fall, and then they walk, and then they fall, before they begin to master the art of walking. They don't just wake up from lying on the bed and from lying on the couch, and then they start walking on their 2 feet one day. It's if you see that, you're gonna be highly surprised, and you may even be scared, and you're gonna be like, it's not normal. So if it's not normal for a baby to do it, it's not gonna be normal for you to just one day out of the blues leave your current lifestyle, your current dieting lifestyle, and then you just change it drastically when there is no system to support you. It's really, really impossible. So for many of us, we would need to do it little by little, taking realistic steps to accomplish that goal, right? What's the next thing we are looking at? Viewing slip-ups as failures instead of feedback. Viewing slip-ups as failures instead of feedback. Many of us, when we take up a goal, maybe it's a dieting goal, maybe it's a goal to do whatsoever thing, we have slip-ups. What do I mean by slip-ups? Slip-ups, maybe you took a goal where you're like, I'm gonna focus on eating only healthy meals, no more sugar, no more processed foods, no more fast foods and all of that, just healthy, organic, food. That's what I'm going to focus on. And you did that successfully for 2 weeks, and then one day maybe you were enticed by a friend, or you were enticed by a situation, and then maybe you ate fast food, or you took some sugary drink, or you broke your consecration you broke the decision which you had made, you broke your discipline basically. Now that should not be as you shouldn't see it as though it's a setback. Don't see it as though it's a total failure. That slip up which you had, it's supposed to show you that it's supposed to serve as a feedback. All right, so this goal I have taken, it has survived and succeeded so far in these conditions. But when this other element was introduced into the system failed. That means I need to reinforce my system and make my system strong enough whereby it can protect itself against this particular element that was strong enough to cause it to fall. It's a continuous cycle where you learn, you improve, and then you build, you deploy. It's basically like an engineering cycle. You learn, you improve, you deploy. You fail, you learn, you improve, you deploy. You fail, you learn, you improve, you deploy, until the point whereby you no longer fail anymore and you achieve your goal, right? That's the mindset for us to carry, not the mindset of we see slip ups as failures and then you just relapse and then break up your dieting regime and you go back to the things you used to do before. You go back to you eating as you used to do before in the case of dieting, or you go back to you being undisciplined in the particular goal which you're trying to achieve. That's not going to help you, right? It's not going to help you in any way. So those are things for us to consider when we are looking at this today. I want you to really have it in mind that we need a system. We need a system. So we are going to look at a couple of things. I'm going to give you some recommendations, but we are going to eventually look at how to do these things using the AI chatbots, because at the end of the day, the AI chatbot is supposed to help us, supposed to be like a thinking partner, supposed to be like a friend who has come to help you to be able to achieve your goals, to be able to identify the things which you might not have seen in your thought process, so you can at the end of the day identify or achieve your overall goal, right? Now let's look at the framework. Remember, in all our lessons from day one, we've always been working with frameworks, right? So we are looking at the person framework today. There is a little typo in this document, please don't mind that. So our framework is the person framework, not the break framework. That's something which I didn't catch in my editing cycle, but I will definitely edit it. But that's not a problem anyway. So our framework for today is the person framework and not the break framework. P stands for preferences, E for environment, R for restrictions, S for schedule, O for objectives, and N for non-negotiables. We've already seen how to build a diet plan, right? We've already seen how to make our diet plan to be focused on a particular goal, maybe to lose weight, maybe to gain a particular nutrient, maybe to become more healthy, maybe to eat a balanced meal, whatever. That's good. But today, in addition to achieving all of that, we are trying to see how we can use AI to build up a system where this goal can exist, right? To build up a supporting system for the goal to ensure that the goal exists. So for example, studying and becoming something, or becoming a great person, right? The system that has been put in place is the school system. The academic system. We have from kindergarten or nursery school to middle school or primary school to secondary school to high school and then to university, right? That's a system that has been put in place to support learning. So a child can definitely learn on his own. You don't need to go to school to acquire all this knowledge, but the school is set there as a structure to be able to support the objective of learning and gaining knowledge and understanding, right? So it is definitely possible for you to achieve that out of the school structure, right? You can build another structure which may be a home structure. Like in some certain places, some kids are homeschooled and they have a totally different structure set to be able to empower them to achieve the goal of learning, right? You must not use the school structure. But one thing that's important is once you're building your goals, once you're trying to achieve something, there should be a structure. Right? That goal should exist in the context of a structure, and the structure comes to provide the support that the goal needs in order for it to be achieved, irrespective of motivation, whether motivation is present or not, irrespective of environmental conditions, no matter how they change, right? So that's why we use framework. So for example, like a framework is something that comes up with basically placeholders. For example, the preference is not a defined thing, or rather it's not a constant thing, it's just a defined placeholder, right? So once your environment changes or once the context changes, the preference also changes, but the definition of the preference remains the same. The definition of the environment remains the same, even though the environment has changed, right? The restrictions have changed, but the definition of that placeholder restriction is the same. So we just take the framework that worked in situation A, and then we take the framework and transfer it to situation B, and then we just put in or fill up all the placeholders, and then we get the framework that's going to work for that particular situation to ensure that the user achieves his or her goal, right? It's something which is important. That's the framework basically, and it's the same thing which I'm trying to say here. The structure is something which is in the case of you achieving your goal, is gonna help to achieve that goal irrespective of whatever happens. Time may change, seasons may change, you may be motivated or not motivated, you may get pregnant, you may have a child, you may lose your job, you may do whatsoever thing, you may get a job, you may do whatsoever. But the purpose of you building your goal and putting it in the context of a structure is so that irrespective of the external changes or the internal changes that happen around you, you are still able to achieve that goal, right? So that's the structure. So we've talked of the preferences, the environment, the restrictions. We already understand the restrictions, the scheduling, right? The structure has to function with a schedule. The dieting has to function with the schedule. Then the objectives, it has to function with an objective, right? So the structure comes in to support your objective. You understand? You get it? The next thing is non-negotiables. What are the things that are non-negotiables that must happen or that must not happen, right? For example, we are looking at, let's say, building a structure to support your dieting, right? The structure must be able to survive the life of a busy mom of 4 who has little to no time on a daily basis, right? So we are not just building a meal plan, but while building that meal plan, we are building it in a way that there is structure in it, or rather we build the meal plan on its own, then we add another added structure to be able to ensure that the structure supports the meal plan, that irrespective of whatsoever happens to the life of the user still going to be able to achieve his goal, irrespective of the fact that she or he is a busy mom, is a busy man, has work he has to do, has responsibilities. And responsibilities, for example, like the demand kinds of increases and decreases from day in to day out. For maybe this one happened, maybe that one happened. You should be able to achieve your goal irrespective of those things, right? And of course, there should be some level of flexibility, because human beings are not rigid. Human beings are not a solid steel beam that cannot be bent. That's not how life is. Life is very, very flexible. Life is very, very malleable, and as such, we must be flexible to ensure that as life moves, we can able to adapt so that we still achieve our goals and get what we want out of life. So the structure must be flexible. The structure must be malleable to be able to adapt, to the changing situations and the changing environment. But there must be non-negotiables, things that no matter what happens, no matter the changes, will still, be achieved, or will still stand in place to ensure that we achieve our goals, right? Let's look at examples or breakdown of the person framework. Let's look at the breakdown of the person framework. So we have preferences. So for example, in the case of dieting, we are focusing on cereals, dairies, vegetables, meat, in order to satisfy taste buds. That's the person's preference, right? So the structure must be the structure of this dieting plan basically must be in a way that Of course, the person's goal, maybe he wants to lose weight, maybe he wants to eat a more healthy, live a more healthy lifestyle, maybe he wants to be able to get a particular nutrient, but it must all be in the context of, I don't want to eat something that sounds like trash in my mouth, or that tastes like trash in my mouth, or that is tasteless, basically. So the structure of this diet plan must be able to survive my desire for eating something that I like, right? The second variable in our framework is the environment variable. So the meal should be able, so we see adapt meals to a university, dorm, or family home setting. So right, the environment may be a university dorm, it may be a family home setting, it may be a bachelor, it may be whatever. Now, in the case of dieting, of course, we have to understand the context in which the person is found, right? In the case where the preference is not a dieting preference, maybe it's something work related, right? The environment will be different. Maybe the environment is going to be an entrepreneur who is doing everything solo, working in his house, or maybe it may be in the context of a business with thousands of employees, and you're working in a department with higher ups and managers who you have to answer to and provide feedback on the progress of whatever thing you're doing, or on the goal you're trying to achieve, right? The next thing is the restrictions. So on the issue of dieting, and restriction we can see here is no access to groceries for Western cuisines and no allergies. So for example, remember that restrictions are things that can affect the achievement of the goal, of the overall goal. So for example, in this case of dieting is a very, very global thing. It's a very, very large, it's a very, very large topic. There are so many kinds of cuisines when it comes to dieting. There are so many things to consider. So another one of those things is allergies, right? For example, if you're dieting and you're trying to achieve whatever goal, or you're trying to achieve whatever purpose, and let's say you're trying to live a more healthy life and you're lactose intolerant. Now, milk is a good source of almost all the food classes. Almost all the nutrients you need can be found in milk. But if you're lactose intolerant, milk is not going to be an ideal food source for you, because if you take in milk, you're going to become sick, and at the end of the day, instead of being healthy, it's going to be counterproductive, right? So these restrictions need to be stated so that the system of dieting which we are building, or the system to support the dieting, should be able to survive the reality of the restrictions, right? In the case of this person, the person has no allergies. He has no allergies. But another restriction that is present in the life of the user, or the life of this exemplar user which we have, is that he doesn't have access to Western cuisines. So maybe, for example, one thing which we can say can be an element of Western cuisine, we can say cheese. Cheese is something which is not so much famous around the world apart from the West. If you go to Africa, you'd not see a lot of people eating cheese. If you go to Asia, you'd not see a lot of people eating cheese. But in Europe, cheese is a staple food product. In the US and Canada, cheese is a staple food product. If you go, for example, to Africa, you find a lot of carbohydrate sources like maize, like what else? For example, there's this carbohydrate food source in Africa known as cassava. There's this one known as yams, right? So if you're trying to, let's say, you're trying to achieve that balanced diet, and you're living in a location where you don't have access to these things, right? You can mention them, right? Now, I'm just giving those examples. It may not be so clear to you because maybe you might not have exposure to some of these things, but I'm just trying to give it in a way you can understand, right? For example, let's maybe look at something else. Let's say you're trying to eat, maybe to get healing from, or to support your healing process, to support your healing journey, maybe from a spine injury, or maybe from brain damage, and then you're supposed to eat a lot of sardines, and you're supposed to eat a lot of fish, and you're living, let's say, somewhere in Africa where there is a lot of, maybe somewhere in the tropics in Africa, where you have basically no streams, no rivers, and little to zero access to fish products. So where are you going to get the omega-3s which you need, to aid in brain repairs and repairs for the neuron cells and all of that? You're going to have to get that from external sources. If you cannot get that from any other food sources around your area, then maybe you have to get it from supplements, right? So basically, the restrictions are the things that are there that can restrict the achievement of the goal or inhibit the achievement of the goal. They may be positive, they may be negative, right? Let's look at the schedule. So for example, here we have plan quick and easy meals for busy weekdays. So the schedule here has to cover on a weekly basis, basically, but on a daily basis. So for example, it should be something that can be done weekly on a daily basis, right? And the schedule is the person is busy, so that's his schedule. He has little to no time, right? And that is also something that can also be included in the restriction. Time can be an inhibitor. Maybe your goal is to be more healthy, and one of the things which you're supposed to do to be more healthy is you're supposed to do a lot of movements, a lot of physical movements, and a lot of sporting activities, right? If you do not have a lot of time that's free and that you can dedicate to that sporting activities, that's some sort of restriction that your structure has to be able to overcome, right? Next thing we are looking at is the overall objective. So the objective of the user in this case is to eat a balanced diet for weight loss. So the user here wants weight loss, so that's his objective. Your objective must not be weight loss. Your objective may not even be in the dieting category or in the lifestyle category. Maybe the objective for you in this case may be to launch a product, say product A, or maybe the objective for you in this case may be to carry out research for a particular new phase of a product, or maybe of something you're trying to achieve, right? Your imagination is basically your limit. And don't think that this thing is limited to only people who are maybe in school, people who are in the workplace. Maybe your goal may just be for you to ensure that your house, for example, is clean, irrespective of your busy schedule and the things you have to do. Maybe your example here in this case may be that, or your objective rather, may be that you are able, let's say you're a farmer. Your objective is to ensure that you are able to harvest your crops in due time, in due season, with little to no interruptions to your harvesting process, right? That could also be an objective for you. And then we finally come to the non-negotiables, right? The things that are non-negotiables, the things that your structure has to incorporate. Now, it can also be kind of like similar. These things could be considered similar to the non-negotiables, but the reason why there's a separation between the restrictions and the non-negotiables, because there are things that are kind of restrictions but may not necessarily be non-negotiables, right? But non-negotiables are things that must be included or things that must be avoided no matter what. A restriction may just be something that you may like to do but you cannot do it realistically, because maybe of the local context in where you find yourself. But the non-negotiables are things that must not be in the system or in the structure in order for you to achieve your goal, right? So for example, let's say in the case of dieting for weight loss, a non-negotiable there may be eliminating all sources of sugar from the diet. So fizzy drinks are out of the way, eating sugar cubes or eating sugary products, sugary beverages and all of that is out of the way. Maybe even eating honey, right? Eliminating anything that may have any form of artificial sweeteners, maybe even chocolate, or maybe some brands of candies and all of that, right? Should be eliminated from the diet because those are non-negotiables, right? Or maybe it may be the non-negotiables may be to eliminate all forms of artificially processed foods fast foods, ketchup, some sort of mayonnaise, all those kinds of things basically. Of course, the values for non-negotiables is going to vary from context to context, from objectives to objectives. So you should be able to define what are the non-negotiables for your system, what are the non-negotiables for your structure, so that your structure is going to be able to survive and achieve the goal which you're looking for, right? Let's move ahead. Next thing we're looking at is an example of a good prompt. In this case, we've seen a lot of examples already. We've seen about 9 of them. Is it 9? We've seen about 18 of them already, and we have 4 more to look at here. Let's look at this example. So let's start with the bad prompt. Give me the healthiest diet possible, right? There is no definition of healthy, and it is very, very unrealistic. And in addition to this, there is no way ChatGPT can design this in a systematic way or design this in a system that is going to support the overall goal of losing weight, right? Let's look at the good prompt. Help me build a diet plan to help me, a mom of 4, lose weight in 4 months. The diet should contain dairy, meat products, vegetables. The diet should contain dairy, meat products, and vegetables. The diet should be affordable with little or no sugar. Fit into my busy weekly schedule. Now, this can easily be formed into a structure, right? Can easily be formed into a structure to achieve that. It's a good prompt. So the variables are clearly defined and clearly stated. We have the context, we have the timeline, we have the goal, we have the preferences, right? Then let's look at this other example of a good prompt here. It says, help me create a balanced diet plan that provides all essential nutrients. Use local meal options and ingredients. The plan should prioritize fruits and vegetables. Keep carbohydrates relatively low, right? Clear context with specific expectation. A bad prompt in this case is remove all unhealthy foods from my diet. Why is this bad? It's extreme and it's unsustainable, right? And ChatGPT's definition of unhealthy is not likely going to be your own definition of unhealthy. I mean, people's preferences and people's bodies vary from person to person. Of course, there is the general and globally accepted definition of healthy and unhealthy foods, but there are some foods that are generally considered healthy that to some people are unhealthy, right? That's just the way their bodies work. So those are things which we have to take in mind. Now, our AI mindset for today is generic prompts produce generic results. Generic prompts produce generic results. You have to be specific in your prompting. If not, you're going to get generic results, right? So we are going to move over to our live prompt walkthrough. And for the first 3 days, we've built with ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been our main AI agents. Today we are going to be working with Gemini. Gemini is the AI agent by Google. ChatGPT is the AI agent by OpenAI. So today we are going to try out Gemini and see what Gemini can do for us. And now remember, we are not just trying to build a diet plan, we are trying to build also, in addition to the diet plan, a structure that is going to help us achieve our dieting goals, irrespective of the external changes that happen to our daily lives, right? Or we can build the structure inside the diet plan to ensure that it works, right? So let's see how that's going to come out for us with Gemini. We can do it, we'll do the 2 separate prompts. So one prompt where we have the structure coming together with the dieting plan, and then another where we have the dieting plan and the structure, and then we see which one of them is the best results, right? Let's take a typical example here. Before we give the context, let's use what we learned yesterday. We're going to use a persona, right? So what would be an appropriate persona for Gemini to play in this case today? So an appropriate persona, in my opinion, for someone who you're trying to lose weight, right? We are going to say this person or the AI chatbot today is an experienced dietitian, health coach, and fitness consultant with over 5 to 10 years of experience, right? And he specializes in working with people, with young and old people of various ages, whether they are male or female, right? So that just tells our AI chatbot on what to focus on. So you are a health and fitness coach with over 10 years of experience in the health industry. You are also a trained dietitian with an adept experience on helping people getting back to living a healthy and well balanced life. Full stop. So that is the persona our AI chatbot is playing today. Now we can still do layering today if we want, or we can decide to group it into the entire prompt. But remember, I said layering is really important because it reduces the work of the AI chatbot or the AI agent and makes it in such a way that the AI agent does one thing at one time. So its thoughts can be coherent and its thoughts can align in a manner that is going to make it easier and much more capable of achieving your desired results, right? So you are a health and fitness coach with over 10 years of experience in the health industry. You are also a trained dietitian with an adept experience on helping and getting people back to living a healthy and well balanced life. Your job is to help me out today with my challenges, right? Then we are going to send that and then wait for a response from Gemini. Let's see what Gemini says. So it's a pleasure to meet you. I've spent the last decade navigating the noisy world of fitness, trends, fad diets, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that sustainable health isn't about perfection, it's about strategy, right? So it's already going towards my direction. It's mentioning the word strategy, and today we are not just looking at building a diet plan. We are looking at incorporating and encapsulating that diet plan within a structure so that that goal becomes more achievable, right? The diet plan may be for you to lose weight, it may be for you to live a healthy lifestyle, it may be for you to maybe eat a balanced meal, right, on a daily. So it must be accomplished, or it must be set up within a structure to make it achievable, right? So we have the fact that it's mentioned strategy. It's already going towards the direction of what I'm thinking, and it did that without me even stating what I want, just by prompting it and telling it who I want it to be today, right? So another thing is you must also try to understand what you want and who is a normal person in the world normally who can help you. So for example, let's say I'm sick, right? No, I'm not sick. Let's say you have someone who is trying to start up a business, right? And he's trying to go solo, he's trying to do entrepreneurship. Who would he normally ask for help or for advice in the world of business? He can ask an experienced entrepreneurial consultant. He can ask another entrepreneur who has already succeeded and built several companies, right? And succeeded and has, a plethora of success stories in his belt, right? So you should always understand the right persona, because if you give your AI chatbot the wrong persona, your results are going to be poor and wrong. For example, let's say you are, for example, an entrepreneur. There's a difference between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. Let's say you're an entrepreneur and then you're trying to, launch something or build something. If you prompt your AI chatbot and tell it it's an entrepreneur, the results you're gonna get will be wrong, right? Because entrepreneurship is different from entrepreneurship, right? There is entrepreneurship and then entrepreneurship. So these two things are different. Entrepreneurship is external, you're starting on your own, no affiliations whatsoever. Entrepreneurship is you trying to start something within a business, right? You're trying to produce a new product, develop a new system, a new idea, something like that. Of course, it's you trying to launch something, but the things involved are different, the conditions are different, and as such, the experience required is also different, right? So you need to be able to understand the right role that ChatGPT needs to adopt or your AI chatbot needs to adopt to be able to help you. Let's keep reading. Whether you're dealing with a plateau, struggling with all or nothing, thinking, or just feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of conflicting advice out there, I'm here to cut through the static. We're going to focus on bio-individual solutions. What actually works for your metabolism, your schedule, and your lifestyle. So this is really working in my direction. To get us moving in the right direction, I need to understand your current landscape. Where should we start? So it's already prompting me. You came here to prompt the AI chatbot, but because of how well you've defined your persona and you've told it what you want, you've not fully described what you want. You just said its job is to help you with your challenges, right? It's already sitting here and prompting you. Now, if I didn't mention this last clause, your job is to help me out with my challenges today, it wouldn't have done this. But since I have mentioned that last clause in my closing prompt, the AI chatbot is now prompting me to understand my situation and what I want from it, right? Let's look at the questions it's asking me. Where should we start? To give you the best coaching possible, please tell me a bit about what's going on. So the big goal, are we looking for fat loss, muscle gain, improve energy levels, or perhaps managing a specific health marker like blood sugar or cholesterol? The current friction, what's your biggest brick wall right now? Late night snacking, no time for the gym, high stress, or inconsistent sleep? We have, then the next question is the baseline. Give me snapshots of your typical day. What's on your plate and how are you moving your body, right? Would you like me to design a quick audit for you to fill out so we can identify exactly where your habits are leaking energy, right? So it's already trying to build a system for me, right, in addition to developing a meal plan. So we are going to use our framework to try to answer these questions, and then we are going to see what the response is going to be. So now let's give a follow-up prompt. So I want you to build a diet plan for me in a structured manner for me to lose weight, gain muscle mass, and eat more healthily. Right? Now let's use our framework to be able to look at this. We're going to go back to the person framework, where we are going to look at what are the various aspects and the various elements in our framework. So we have the preference. We have to mention our preferences. We need to be able to state our environments, and then we need to talk about the restrictions. We also need to talk about our schedule. We need to talk about our objectives, which we have already mentioned, and then we need to talk about our non-negotiables, right? Now remember, if we are doing this in a structured manner, so there must be a structure to this so that we can achieve our goal. So there may be some other things which the AI chatbot is going to recommend. For example, eating less in the morning. For example, maybe eating no more after 6 p.m. Another example may be 5 minutes of sports or 10 minutes of sports, maybe every morning, or maybe you doing some movement every night before sleeping. So those are part of the things. Those are things which could be recommendations that could stand to strengthen the structure to ensure that you achieve your goal. Those could be recommendations that the chatbot could give. I don't know. Let's see what's gonna happen anyway. So we have let's give our preferences, right? So you see, I want you to build a diet plan for me in a structured manner for me to lose weight, gain muscle mass, and eat more healthily. Let's talk about preferences. I personally like eating vegetables and meat, right? My food should be very rich and flavorful. So those are just your personal preferences, right? So we have the personal preferences. Then we can talk about the environment. Now, the reason why this framework is put in the manner of person is not because that order must be followed, right? You may jumble it up. You may start with the objective, then go to the environment, then go to your preferences. The reason why it is, built in the way of person is just so you can easily remember it, right? Person, P for preferences, E for environment, R for restriction, O for objective, N for non-negotiables, and then we're gonna have S for schedule, right? So you can jumble it in whatever way you want, but the important thing is your prompt should contain each and every one of them, each and every aspect of the framework. So I personally like eating vegetables and meat. My food should be very rich and flavorful. I would like to mention this, somewhere around the end. So I'm just gonna come down here and then add another line and come here. Let's talk about the context. I am a mom of 4 who works daily from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's my context, right? That's my environment. My daily routine is often full with little or no personal time. So you're trying to provide the context. I have tried dieting before and failed drastically. I have tried dieting before and failed at it. So you're letting it know that you've already had a previous experience with dieting, but it was unsuccessful. So you can understand how to build an added structure that is going to be able to work for you, right? I can, however, do my best to change my daily workflow by incorporating new tasks alongside other daily routine. Now, one thing which you have to know, you sometimes, for you to be able to build a structure that is going to work for you, in the case of dieting and lifestyle, you build structure on structure. I'm going to say this courtesy of ALX Africa. ALX Africa is a wonderful education institution. I've worked with them before, mainly as a student, and during my time there, I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned from them is, in order to build discipline in lifestyle, one way you can do it in order to maybe get yourself adapted to doing new things is by stacking habits on things which are already a routine for you. So for example, let's say every day when you wake up, the first thing you do is to brush your teeth. So you can stack up your habit and say, after brushing my teeth, I um, do 5 push-ups. It's already a known fact that every day you must brush your teeth. So adding the fact that you have to do 5 push-ups every day after brushing your teeth, it becomes some sort of a structure so that you get to do those 5 push-ups every day, no matter what happens, because you must brush your teeth no matter what happens, right? Another thing, maybe the last thing you normally do every night before sleeping is maybe to check your messages, right? So you can add another structure whereby you say, after checking my messages, I read a book, or I read one chapter of a book before I sleep, right? Maybe you're trying to learn more, or to gain more knowledge, or to read more, right? So that could be another structure which you could incorporate in your daily workflow. But these are just some things which I'm just trying to incorporate in my prompt to help the AI chatbot understand where I'm currently at, and what I can and what I'm willing to do, right? But if I could not be able to do this, I can definitely omit this from the prompt. And if I have no idea about this, I can definitely omit this from the prompt, and then somewhere else ask ChatGPT to recommend ask the AI chatbot to recommend other things which I could incorporate in my daily workflow to help me to become more productive, basically, right? So we've mentioned our preference, we've mentioned our environment. Now let's mention restrictions, right? Let's mention restrictions, mention our schedule, and then our non-negotiables. So here are our restrictions. I think I'm going to build this. I think this preference should kind of be at the end. Let's mention our restrictions, right? I normally have to cook every weekend from 12 to 2 p.m. and every weekday at 4 p.m. Let's say every weekday at 5 p.m. Every weekday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. is family time with my kids. Now you may ask yourself, how does family time affect dieting, right? You need to understand that this one is not just about dieting, it's about building a structure. So you must be able to divulge as much information as possible, as much necessary information as possible about your daily routine, so ChatGPT or the AI agent can be able to present you that plan in a structured manner, right? And provide the right structure to help you achieve that plan, or to provide the right structure that is going to support the achievement of that plan, irrespective of whatever happens, right? So these are the restrictions. I'm going to speak more of this. I also am very energetic in the morning and usually tired in the evenings. Full stop. So we can just leave it that for our restrictions, but we can add other restrictions, related to dieting. In this case, let's say I am lactose intolerant and hate and do not like pork or any food derived from pork. So let's do that. Say I am lactose intolerant and also do not like any food item related to pork. So yeah, I'm lactose intolerant and also do not like any food item related to pork. That's a restriction. The fact that you're lactose intolerant is also a non-negotiable, but you can still place it under restrictions. Now let's look at non-negotiables. Non-negotiables is this meal must have no sugar, must be completely natural, and yeah, let's do that. So my non-negotiables are: this meal must have no sugar and be completely Um, now let's say natural. This diet plan, not meal, must have no sugar and be completely natural. Now that goes for our non-negotiable. So is there another thing which we have not mentioned? Let's mention. We've already spoken a little bit about the schedule, right? Um, I think we can leave it at this point, and then we keep on prompting ChatGPT or our AI agent to see what we are going to get. So let me not overload it with information, but let it go through this information and then let it know what it wants. So, but let's make sure that our response answers all its questions, right? So, what is the big goal? The big goal is to lose weight, gain muscle mass, eat more healthy. Current friction, what is your biggest brick wall right now? So, I've mentioned that in restrictions, and I also mentioned part of that in the environment, right? In your context. The baseline, give me a sharp snot of your typical day, what's on your plate, and how are you moving your body. So, we already have basically answered this in parts and pieces of our prompt. I'm going to read the entire prompt to you so you can get an idea of what we've instructed our AI agent to do. I want you to build me a diet plan in a structured manner for me to gain weight, for me to lose weight and gain muscle mass and eat more healthily. I'm going to add a little caveat to this. I also want you to recommend a system, or rather incorporate a system that automatically supports my goals irrespective of what happens, right? So we are putting this clause we are putting this clause from the start of our prompting so it can give us an output that comes together. Let's see what let me read the entire prompt again. I want you to build a diet plan for me in a structured manner for me to lose weight and gain muscle mass and eat more healthily. I also want you to recommend a system, or rather incorporate a system that automatically, I'm going to also want you to incorporate a system that automatically supports my goals irrespective of what happens in the diet plan. We keep on reading. I am a mom of 4 who works daily from 8 to 4 p.m. I think I'm going to specify I'm a married mom of 4, because mom of 4 may make you think I'm a single mother. So I'm a married mom of 4 who works daily from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. My daily routine is often full with little or no personal time. I have tried dieting before and failed at it. I can, however, do my best to change my daily workflow by incorporating new tasks alongside other daily routines. I normally have to cook every weekend from 12 to 2 p.m. and every weekday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. is family time with my kids. I also am very energetic in the mornings and usually tired in the evenings. I am lactose intolerant and also do not like any food item related to pork. My non-negotiables are: this diet plan must have no sugar and be completely natural. I personally like eating vegetables and meat. My food should be very rich and flavorful. So that's it. Let's see the response our AI chatbot is going to give to us, right? It's going to take some time to give us the structure, and then let's see what's our response. So I hear you loud and clear. Being a mom of 4 with a full-time job is essential. Working 2 executive level roles at once. It's essentially working 2 executive level roles at once. It's no wonder previous diets failed. Most plans are designed for people with infinite time, not for someone who is the CEO of a household. Since you're energetic in the morning but drained by 5 p.m., we are going to front load your effort. You would use your morning energy to protect your evening peace. The automatic success system. That's the name the AI chatbot is giving our system. To support your goals irrespective of the diet plan, we will implement the rule of pairs. The cook once, eat twice anchor. Cook once, eat twice anchor. Nights, every time you cook on weeknights, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., you will double the protein portion. Half goes to dinner, half goes to a glass container for lunch. It's like the AI chatbot did not understand because we specifically mentioned here. See, I normally have to cook every weekend from 12 to 2 p.m. and every weekday from 5 to 6 p.m. is family time. So I'm just going to do a little bit of editing because it seems the AI chatbot has a problem with has not understood um, our that particular clause. Where is it again? So I say I normally have to cook every weekday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And every day. I'm just going to put a full stop there, and then I'm going to say and every weekday, yeah, and every weekday from 12 to 5 is family time with the kids. Then I'm going to click on update, and then let's see the new response which it has given to us, and let's see how it's gonna go. Right, so basically it says the same thing. I hear you loud and clear. As a mom of four with a full-time job, you don't need a diet, you need a logistical operation. The reason previous attempts failed is likely because you didn't account for 4 p.m. energy slumps or the family hour chaos. To succeed, we are going to use your your high morning energy to front load your health, right? The automated success system. You ask for a system that works regardless of the plan. We call this decision automation. The uniform breakfast from Monday to Friday. You eat the same high protein breakfast. This removes decision fatigue when you are busy getting kids ready. The 2 to 1 batch rule. On your weekend cook from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., you will cook double the protein but keep it neutrally seasoned. Right? This allows you to transform it into different flavor meals during the week under 10 minutes. So basically, what this is the system which the AI chatbot is recommending. So firstly, it's saying it's gonna take the bulk of the work which you're supposed to do in this system or in this diet plan and then put it during the morning, right? So that in the evening when the user is normally less energetic, tired, and has family time, is going to do less work, right? It's going to do little to no work. And then it's also saying that the user has to cook on weekends, right, from 12 to 2 p.m., right? Is recommending that the user should cook a lot of food and then should kind of like season it neutrally. So for example, maybe like boiled plantains for an African context, or maybe steam some vegetables, or maybe prepare dough, and then during the week just take what has already been prepared and stored in the fridge and then just whip it up. Maybe since everything has already been prepared during the weekend, you just maybe fry or maybe stir or maybe bake or boil or whatever, and then it normally takes maybe like 10 to 15 minutes and you're done. You have your meal ready for you to eat. Let's look at the last recommendation it gave. The evening buffer. Since you're tired in the evening, we'll move your active cooking to the morning or to the weekend. Dinner should be assembly only, right? Dinner should be assembly only. So the flavor fuel nutrition: protein based, beef, lamb, chicken, turkey, fish. Fiber macros: all green vegetables, peppers, onions, root vegetables. Fats: avocados, olive oil, coconut milk for the rich flavor without the lactose. Sugar free: would use fresh herbs, citrus, spices for flavor instead of sauces with hidden sugars. Remember I told you this plan cannot contain sugars, right? And it should not contain anything artificial. I'm not sure I mentioned that, but I think that's one of the things I mentioned anyway. And it is making sure to stick to those restrictions which we gave it in our prompts. Let's look at a sample daily structure. So breakfast at 7 a.m. steamed asparagus, scrambled 3 eggs, sliced beef, strips and sauteed asparagus, rich in iron protein to keep you full. Then lunch at 12:30, Mediterranean chicken ball. We have this. Then a snack at 3:30, energy bridge, a handful of walnuts and macadamia nuts. And then in the evening we have dinner, slow cooked beef stew or curry, and so on and so forth. Let's see your workflow integration. Now this is the structure part. Since you're energetic in the morning but busy at work, we would pivot your task. Morning energy peak. Use 15 minutes before work to prep your dinner ingredients. If you put them in a slow cooker at 7:30, dinner is automatic at 5 p.m. Right? Uh, Weekend. This is your power hour. You aren't just cooking meals, you are processing ingredients. Grill 2 kilograms of chicken beef, chop all the raw vegetables for the week and store them in an airtight container. Portion out your lunches for Monday to Wednesday. Why this will work this time? Muscle growth. You'll have protein at every single meal, zero sugar. By using whole meat fats, your blood sugar stays stable, which actually helps with your evening fatigue. Lactose free. We use avocados and olive oil to protect or to provide the richness you crave without the gut distress. Would you like me to create a specific seasoning guide using only natural herbs and spices so your meat and vegetables never taste boring? So here, this is a great example of what I was saying, but we now needed to combine this whole output into something which is actually usable. In this form, it's basically more of an advice and it's not so much usable. One of the things which you can definitely use is this daily structure, this sample daily structure, right? There are more things which we can do. For example, we can double down on this diet plan to look at the calories which we are taking in, to look at how this amount of food is going to affect our weight, and looking at it, I think this is a very balanced diet in my opinion. We see vegetables, we see fruits and minerals and so on and so forth. Another thing which we may also need to consider is portions, right? Looking at the portions, because of course this is a great diet plan, but it doesn't also talk about portions in this case. So you can prompt it to get that information to be able to, for example, like you did not mention portions in the sample daily structure you provided. Could you also give a recommended portion per meal? Could you swap and provide options for a month? Build a whole month plan and all of that, right? So we already have timing and all of this for this. Let's double down a little bit more on the dieting plan, and then we see how to move ahead. We have already passed the 1 hour mark for the lesson today. I did not intend for us to do a 2-part series for this particular lesson. I'm not sure it's going to be 2 parts, but let me see how much we can cover and do. For now, we've already hit 1 hour 7 minutes. If we can do the remaining work, let's say in about 10 to 15 minutes, yes, then that's okay. All right, if not, then we go for a part 2. So let's see what we have to do today, right? We are going to double down on this, ask you to give us portions, the amount, ask it to extend this and give us a whole diet preparation list for the whole month. But before doing this, let's expand this to incorporate the structure on a daily basis, right? So basically we are asking you to combine the daily dieting plan and the structure into one output so we can see everything at once, right? And then we are also asking if there's any question it has for us in order for it to be able to better help us, right? You should ask and then we'll provide the answers. Now also, right now we are using the FAST model. I think maybe tomorrow or one of the next lessons we'll talk about using models, when it's appropriate to use different models I think here it would have been more appropriate for us to use the thinking model, but we can't because we are not signed in. But that's not a problem. Let's continue with the fast model and then see what we're going to get. Now let's see the response is given to us. To ensure this table is accurate as possible for your weight loss and muscle gain goals, I have one quick question. Do you have any specific allergies to nuts or seafood or any particular star vegetables you absolutely love, right? Assuming a standard high protein whole food approach, here is your automated life and diet integration map that combines your work schedule, your energy peaks, and your no sugar lactose requirement into one functional system. So here we have an integrated plan that provides the diet plan and also a structure for you to follow, right? You just need to take this and then incorporate it into your daily routine and your weekly routine and then see how it goes. So let's see. We have mornings, we have 7 a.m. front loading, spend 15 minutes on dinner prep, cooker, on vegetables and all of that. Then we have breakfast, provides a breakfast. Work block, we have the work block from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We have hydration, drink 1 liter of water, black coffee or herbal tea only, no sugar. Lunch or break, decision free eating. Eat your pre-prepped power bowl, right? So it's saying before going to work, you should prepare something for work. Lunch, cold grilled chicken or salmon over a massive bed of mixed greens, cucumbers, and avocados with olive oil and lemon dressing. Then we have the bridge, 3:30. Fat fuel, eat a high fat fuel snack before leaving work to kill evening cravings. A handful of raw walnuts or macadamia nuts plus 1 hard boiled egg, right? Then we have family time, 5 to 6 p.m. Non-negotiables, no kitchen work, focus entirely on the kids, no food consumed during this block, right? Then even in 6:30, assembly only. Since you're tired, you only plate the food prepared this morning, right? Slow cooked lamb or beef stew with carrots or zucchini, or maybe you just took what you cooked over the weekend, put it in the microwave, and then you're good to go. Then weekend, the engine, batch cook all meals, chop all vegetables, and then go cook 2 to 3 kilograms of natural proteins to be seasoned daily, right? Then we have the automatic support system rules. Now these are the rules for this system which you have to incorporate to ensure you don't fall even when life gets chaotic. We're implementing these 3 fail safes: the never empty fridge, your weekend cook is the only thing that matters. If the meat is cooked and the vegetables are chopped, you literally cannot eat badly because the healthy choice is the fastest choice. So the AI chatbot is saying basically you're eating. One of the things which is saying is if you always have healthy options available, then you're not going to go for the bad options, right? If you always cook and prep your meals every weekend, then throughout the week you're always going to have healthy options available for you. So it's standing on the presupposition that the reason why you maybe you're not living a healthy lifestyle is because you're eating food which is not healthy. You see, right? Then we have number 2, the flavor foundation. Since you want rich and flavorful without sugar, you will use the trinity of every meal: acid, fats, and herbs. So maybe according to Western cuisine, right? Because I'm not it's the first time I'm hearing this this particular analogy where we've seen acid, fat, and herbs, right? Maybe according to some cuisine methodology, then this may be the best flavor foundation. I don't know, but you could definitely take it and maybe you could definitely specify your locality in your prompt, right? This is taking more of a global standpoint, but you can localize it and be like, I'm located in so and so area or so and so country or so and so region, so that the results can be more tailored to your reality. Then we have the third recommendation: is a tired mom. If you are too exhausted to cook at 6:30, You are allowed to eat a cold plate, pre-cooked meals, raw cherries, tomatoes, half an avocado, no cooking required. Right. Next step for me, would you like me to provide a grocery master list characterized by grocery stores as to make your shopping trip as fast as possible? One thing which I've definitely not seen it in which it has not incorporated in this system is we have measures, and then we also have how will I put it? We have it has not included a measure of the portion of the food or the amount of food you're supposed to eat per serving, and then it's not also spoken about any way to measure your progress, whether you're actually losing weight or gaining weight, or if, for example, you relapse, maybe one day you eat something which is unhealthy, or maybe you see that you're not losing weight as you would like to, right? So basically, these are some shortcomings which you may not have mentioned, but let's include them and count them and see what results we are going to get, right? You did not mention portion sizes. You did not mention portion sizes. No, you did not mention portion sizes per meal. Also, how do I measure whether this meal plan and system is effective? So basically, one thing which is very, very important when it comes to a diet plan is the amount of food you eat. It's not just the type of food you eat, but the portions, right? The portions is very, very important. And if you're taking so much portions, even of vegetables and fruits, then it's not going to be good for you, right? So that's something which we need to ask to be able to clarify, right? So let's see what we get as a response. So we have, that is an excellent catch. To build muscle while losing fat, you need to ensure your protein intake is high enough to protect your lean tissue while keeping your total energy intake in a range that forces your body to use stored fat. Because you are a busy mom of four, I don't want you weighing on every gram or digital scale. That's a recipe for burnout. Instead, we'll use a hand portion method, which is significantly validated way to measure portions using your own hand as a guide. Wow. Okay, I just realized something. What the AI chatbot says makes a lot of sense. I said our goal was to lose weight and build muscle mass, but then later on I went to say I'm a mom of four who is married and all of that, and it's kind of, in a way, counterintuitive. A normal mom of four who may be overweight would normally be looking to lose weight and just to get in shape, right? She would not be losing to build muscle mass. So what the AI chatbot has said actually makes a lot of sense, and that's something which I didn't really catch on when I was prompting and drafting the initial prompt, right? Let's see what it gave again as a response. Instead, we'll use the hand portion method, which is scientifically validated way to measure portions using your own hand as a guide. The hand portion measuring system. For every main meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, use these measurements. So proteins, 1.5 to 2 palms, build muscles and keeps you full. Vegetables, 2 plus fists of high fiber, gut health and volume. Healthy fats, 1 to 2 thumbs. Wow. Carbs, 1 chopped hand. Wow, this is really a valid measuring system. This is great. Alright, so the integrated weekly plan with portions, right? We have 7 a.m, 12:30 p.m, 3:30. Then we have the portion: 2 pounds protein, 2 fists vegetable, right? When you say 2 pounds protein, it's like you take your palms and then you take the proteins that you have in the meal. Can it like cover your palms twice, right? And then 2 fist vegetables. You make your hand into a fist and then you compare with the size and the amount of vegetables. Is it the same? volume and size wise, right? Then lunch, we have 1.5 pounds of protein, 3 feasts of vegetables, 2 thumbs of fats, 1.5 thumbs of nuts, one small protein, right? 6:30 p.m. assembly, rich beef, 1.5 protein, 1.5 pounds of protein, 2 feasts of vegetables, and yeah. So how to measure effectiveness? Since your goal is a recomposition, losing fat and gaining muscle simultaneously, the scale can be a liar. Muscle, wonderful. This is, and that's true. There are some people who weigh over 120 kilograms, but they are not obese. They are not chubby. They are very, very fit. They are very, very muscular, right? There are two kinds of masses basically. There's muscle mass and then there's fat mass. There's also bone mass and tissue mass and all of that, but the main ones that count a lot to body weight, we have muscle mass and then we have fat mass. When you have a lot of fat mass and lesser muscle mass, you appear as obese or you appear as chubby. But when you have lesser or zero fat mass, well, it's impossible for you to have zero fat mass anyway. But when you have more of muscle mass, you can still appear as maybe wearing 120 kilos on the weight scale, but you have more of muscles, right? What the AI chatbot is saying is very, very true. So basically, if we didn't prompt it further, we would not have understood that. Anyhow, since your goal is a recomposition, the scale can be a liar. Muscle is denser than fat. You may stay the same weight but drop 2 dress sizes. We will use 3 data points. The jeans test. Choose a pair of jeans, non-stretch jeans that are currently a bit tight. Try them on once every 2 weeks. If they feel loose, the system is working, regardless of what the scale says. That's actually smart. The energy audit. On a scale of 1 to 10, how is your 4 p.m. energy? If it rises from 3 to a 7 over the next month, your metabolism is healing and your blood sugar is stabilizing. Strength markers. Are the kids feeling lighter when you pick them up, or are you winded after your work day? This confirms muscle gain. And then we have the fourth one. We have the automatic adjustment rule. If you aren't losing weight after 3 weeks, reduce your fat portions by half at lunch and dinner. If you're feeling weak, starving, increase your protein at breakfast. Would you like me to create a Saturday prep checklist so you can maximize those 2 hours? This is basically amazing, right? This is just so amazing. So I think I'm going to end here, but I'm going to tell you to incorporate all this information into one final output so I can incorporate it into my daily life. Now you can definitely dive down and let us seek for recommendations on a weekly basis for food options, because you cannot eat the same things every day, right? So for example, on this day you can use the meal plan for day 1, and then on day 2 you can use the meal plan for day 2. And by the way, looking at the way it gave the formula, you can definitely swap. So we say 2 pounds of protein, then 2 feasts of vegetables. So you can definitely swap. Maybe on the morning you must not have spinach in the morning, right? You may use another vegetable, maybe collard greens, maybe kale, maybe carrots, right? You must not eat eggs, right? Maybe you can take chicken or beef, or maybe some other form of protein like lentils, right? So it's basically something which you can swap over on a daily basis, and it's not like a constant rigid rule which you have to follow every day, right? So I'm just going to ask you to summarize this into one output which is easy and comprehensible for me to utilize and implement on a daily, where I see everything, right? So summarize this output in a simple form that is easy for me to utilize on a daily. I also want to be able to see all the necessary information at once without stressing or let's say without spending much time to locate it. So let's see the final. Wow. Okay. So this is your one-page command center. Print out this screenshot, combines your schedule, your portions, and your success metrics, right? One thing which this doesn't combine is the other recommendations for you to cook during the weekends and the meal preps in the morning. But I think I can say this is a great system. It's a great system which you can use, on a daily. The automatic success system, weekend powerhouse, it definitely added this at the end. Measurement guides. So basically, it did everything. Even though this was not really what I was expecting, but it kind of still did it in the right way anyway. So you can definitely prompt it more. You could dive deeper, get more from this, and see how it's gonna go, right? So basically, that's it. And I think we're going to end here for today. It's been an amazing time so far. Thank you for spending the time with me. By the way, if you have any questions so far on all what we've covered, leave them in the comment section, and then I'm going to do my best to answer those questions as the time goes on. All right, if you have any other things which you would like me to cover within these 14 days, today is day 4, remember, let me know, and then I'll see how to add that to the work which we already have programmed for the 14 days. All right, so thank you very much. Stay blessed and see you on day 5. Bye bye.